Aloha and welcome to this video trip report from my recent Hawaii said departure tour. Please check out this PDF for which accompanies this video. Has the itinerary on there, the birds of the trip, and a full checklist. Also has a link to the eBird trip report. And also a link to some photos on iNaturalist. So please check those out. This is the eBird trip report that I mentioned. It has all the species that we saw, also photos and locations for each species. And my iNaturalist page, which has photos of other things like plants and mammals and reptiles. Please check that out. You can also check out the Tropical Birding website, which has lots of information, photos, details of the tour, like price. It's a 9-day tour starting and finishing in Honolulu. Take a look at the map here. We arrive in Oahu, spend 2 nights there. We go to the island Kauai. It's 2 nights there, and then 4 nights on the Big Island before going back to Oahu. As always, we'll start with a map. The state of Hawaii is smack bang in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's about 5 or 6 hours flight from Los Angeles and also accessible from Japan. We arrive in the capital of Honolulu, and we go straight to our hotel called Kaimana Beach. Beautifully located on a beach. It's got lovely swimming and also a park across the road where you can get stuck into your birding. This is a picture flying into Honolulu. As you can see, it's quite a scenic place. This is Kapiolani Park down here. And this rather amazing looking formation here is called Diamond Head. It's an extinct volcano. The next morning from our hotel, we'll head straight up into the hills onto a hiking trail on a ridge called the Wili Wili Nui Ridge Trail. This is accessible from a residential area, quite scenic as well, overlooking the Diamond Head. Here we get stuck into our birding with many of the introduced species. Here's the red-vented bulbul and the Javan sparrow. There's quite a few conservation issues on Hawaii, one of which is invasive plants. And they ask hikers to not bring seeds in on their boots. So they give you these boot cleaning stations where you brush your boots and spray them. This is the beginning of the trail. It's got a few native plants on there, but also quite a lot of introduced plants. These are strawberry guava trees. We didn't come here to look at introduced species, but rather the native species. This was our first endemic species, the Oahu elepaio, which is a type of monarch flycatcher. You see the trail's pretty scenic. Got a bit of native vegetation here, but also plenty of introduced species here. There's a Cook's pine from New Caledonia. Higher up the trail, we can find these beautiful native plants called Ohia lehua, which is a very important food source for some of the native birds. And this is one of the birds that we came to see, the Oahu amakihi. It's one of the Hawaiian honey creepers, very special group of birds, lots of endemics, many of which have already become extinct, and others which are going that way. Luckily, this is still quite common, the Oahu amakihi. After we knocked off our 2 endemic targets, we drove back down and started to work our way around the coast. We took a couple of stops and we saw some nice birds, including the red-tailed tropic bird and sooty terns, really beautiful scenery. We made our way to a wetland, Kailepulu Wetland Bird Reserve. And here we saw the endemic Hawaiian coot, also the endemic subspecies of common gallinule, and endemic subspecies of blackneck stilt. This looks like an endemic Hawaiian duck, but all the ones on Oahu are supposed to be hybridized with mallards, so we couldn't count this one yet. Also had some other birds like black-crowned night heron and these rather cute common waxbills from Africa. From there, we drove further north to a place called Kahuku and the Kahuku Golf Course. Here we took a walk around the edge of the golf course and saw quite a few nice birds, including the Pacific golden plover and this rather nice introduced red-crested cardinal. We made our way to a place called the Japanese Cemetery, which is the best place to scan for this bird, the bristle-thighed curlew, one of the most difficult shorebirds in the world. Breeds up in Alaska, but it's a lot easier to see here. Pretty easy walk. Don't need to do a big climb up into the mountains like in Alaska. Beautiful view of the coast from here. Good place for sea watching. And we had some amazing birds. We had these Laysan albatrosses flying overhead. And very unexpected, we also had this black-footed albatross. I mean, these things were close overhead and huge. Really spectacular birds. After Kahuku, we went back down to Honolulu, and the next day flew to the island of Kauai and the town of Lihue. From here, we went out birding to the Kilauea, where there's a lighthouse out here. This is a fantastic place for nesting seabirds. So red-footed boobies along with frigate birds and different types of terns and tropic birds. Yeah, it was really good. From Kilauea Point, we went further along. This is what it looked like there. Here we saw the nene, or Hawaiian goose. It's a bird that almost became extinct a few decades ago, but has been brought back and is now pretty common. Also saw some Hawaiian ducks at last that we could count. At a place called Salt Beach Pond, we went in search of this beautiful animal, the Hawaiian monk seal. It was on a rather busy beach, just full of people, but they were kind of coned off and everybody kind of respected their distance. Very cool endemic mammal. Another spot along the coast there, we went to a place called... These were the green sea turtles. And again, another very busy beach, a lot of families there. And again, they just put cones around and everybody respected them. They had some volunteers there talking about the turtles, doing some education. So yeah, it was really nice to see. But these turtles just come ashore on this one beach and just kind of just rest there. It's rather remarkable. Let's take to the far east of Kauai and here we explored the native forest. I took a little bit of video walking through the forest to give you an idea of what it's like. Very high rainfall area, very moist. Yeah, really special place. And one of the endemics that we found here was the Kauai elepaio. It's related to the Oahu elepaio. It's another monarch flycatcher. And we also saw another honey creeper, the beautiful apapane. Bright red, also feeding on these Ohia lehua flowers. There's another couple of birds which have been seen there in the past, the aniani owl and the Kauai amakihi, and these appear to be getting rarer and rarer every year. And yeah, we were unable to find those birds. One of the big issues on Hawaii is things are just disappearing so quickly that it's definitely a place you want to get to sooner rather than later. It's a lot of these birds are in big trouble. Further down at the park, we saw some rather interesting introduced species, including these Urkel's franklins. We stopped at the park lodge for lunch, which is very nice. And outside they were feeding birds. You see, these are the introduced zebra doves and red jungle fowl. So you can see there's no shortage of birds. It's just a lot of them are introduced. On the way down, we stopped at the Waimea Canyon and saw white-tailed tropic birds soaring in the distance. Really spectacular scenery. The next day, we left Kauai and Hawaii and via Oahu, we went to the Big Island, to Kona International Airport. This is us flying into Kona. Just incredible volcanic scenery. You can see these fairly recent lava flows just covering the whole side of the island. It was just absolutely incredible to see. From Kona Airport, we drove inland looking for a very rare bird called a palila. We went to the palila. We searched pretty hard for it for several hours and we were unable to find it. It's got a lot rarer apparently in recent years and months, and a local guide told me he thought that this might actually be the next extinction that happens on Hawaii. So it's quite a depressing place sometimes to see these birds almost going extinct in front of your eyes. Although we missed the palila, we did get another endemic. We saw the Hawaii amakihi, related to the Oahu amakihi that we saw before. So that we got really good views of that. From there, we drove up to the town of Waimea. These were our rooms. We stayed in a lot of big hotels here. This was quite a intimate, smaller place, which I really enjoyed. Waimea is a cool town. It's got some cool little spots for eating and stuff. We checked out this pizzeria called Underground Pizza, and they had this big table called the Godfather table. Just me enjoying a rather big pizza. The next day was probably the most important birding day. You were only allowed in there with certified guides, and we had one of the best, a guy called Lance. We had an incredible day, and we saw a whole bunch of endemics. This is us in front of the sign on the way in, and also took another video walking through the native forest. This used to be cattle pasture and has now been reforested to help save some of the native species there. We saw some red ohia flowers before, and they have yellow ones here as well. Here we saw Apapane again, really good views. We got a great view of the male Hawaii amakihi. This is one of our birds of the trip. It's called the iwi, another Hawaiian honey creeper. Stunning, just scarlet red, orange bill. Really spectacular bird. We got our third elepaio, and this is a Hawaii elepaio. This is one of the not so colorful honey creepers. This is a Hawaiian creeper. This was the bird of the trip for the group. I've put this silhouetted picture in because you can really see nicely the shape of the bill. It's got a straight, short lower mandible, which it uses like a woodpecker. It's got this long, curving upper mandible, which it can actually move, and it can actually touch its lower mandible. But it pecks like a woodpecker with the lower one, and then it tries to pierce grubs and stuff with the upper one. I mean, it's really just a totally unique bill shape. I got a bit of video of the Akiapola'au here in action. Yeah, we just had amazing views of this bird. It's probably the ecological equivalent of a woodpecker, but it's really going to town. I can see it hammering. God, just incredible. Just a real privilege to see such a rare bird. And although there's quite a lot of doom and gloom in Hawaii, this species seems to be responding to conservation measures, and it seems to actually be increasing in number here. Another one of our whole of endemic species, this is called the akepa, kind of a bright orange, short billed. If you look very carefully at the bill, it actually crosses. They have a few nice signs up, educational signs. We stopped in a grassy area there with picnic tables for our packed lunch, and we were joined by these beautiful Hawaiian geese. There are other introduced species there, one of which is a Kalige pheasant, and obviously it's quite a target, even though it's an introduced species. This is actually a native species, the endemic subspecies of short-eared owl. The next day, we went back down to the coast at Kona. This is the one here. It's actually called a hurricane. It's like a bigger version than a Zodiac, but it's pretty bumpy. The boatman was fantastic, and his assistant, a lifeguard, so we were well looked after. But yeah, it was quite the experience. The seas around Hawaii are pretty quiet. They have these buoys, these buoys, which are markers, but fish congregate around the chains going down, and they're often a place where you can see birds and fish. There's a brown booby here that was hanging onto one, and another one, a young red-footed booby. Some shearwaters we saw. We got the wedge-tailed shearwater. We had quite good numbers of those and quite close. Nice views on the water and in flight. Also got a few other seabirds, including the brown noddy. After the boat ride, we had a quick lunch, and then we went down to check out the local water treatment plant. Quite a few water birds. We had more black-crowned night herons, lots of ducks and shorebirds. We had this nice pectoral sandpiper, which is quite rare. After this, we drove all the way across to the other side of the island. We stayed in the town of Hilo, and the next day, a pretty spectacular place. When we got there were some signs by the visitors center informing us that the volcanoes in there were not erupting, which was quite a relief. Really high rainfall area. Took another video walking through one of the trails here. Really lush, full of tree ferns and endemic plants. Saw some of the same endemic birds again. Yeah, but really beautiful place to visit. Some signs up about some of the birds that have already gone extinct. This is the o'o, pretty amazing looking bird. We actually walked down a trail and into a lava tube, which was the first time I've ever been to one of those. Here you can see us walking inside. It was quite an experience. We also drove further down the road towards the coast and over a lava field, which was just incredible. I mean, as far as the eye could see was this lava. Really, really amazing place. We got down to the coast down here, and we actually had a bird target down here, which was the black tern, the Hawaiian subspecies of this that has these orange feet. But yeah, that was a new bird for us. After the national park, we went back to the town of Hilo, where we were staying in a rather nice hotel there, a Hilo Hawaiian Hotel. We did some local birding around here. We saw the Hawaiian hawk really well, which is pretty common around here. We also explored some of the local parks. We had really good views of wandering tattler, more Pacific golden plovers, some coming to breeding plumage. Even had ruddy turnstones just running around the lawn in the middle of the park. Quite unusual. Also saw this beautiful bird, not a native species. Is from South America, the saffron finch, but just a gorgeous little bird. You got yellow-billed cardinals from South America as well, and also yellow-fronted canaries from Africa. So a few birds from all over the world. Very nice coastline there. You can even do a bit of swimming. And I even took a bit of a dip and a snorkel and got some of these fish photos. These are convict surgeonfish, the Hawaiian dacilus, and a spotted boxfish. So yeah, in total, I think I recorded about 35 species of fish. And yeah, certainly with a bit more time, could have seen a lot more. So yeah, lots to see under the water as well. And from there, we went back to Oahu to link up with our departing flights. I'll finish off with my favorite bird from the tour, the iwi. It's waiting for you on Hawaii. The birds are getting rarer and rarer every year. It's definitely a place to go sooner rather than later. The avian extinction capital of the world. It's very sad, but there's some happy stories there as well. It's a fascinating place. Really fun tour. Yeah, highly recommended. So check it out on the website. Hope to see you there on a future tour. Thanks for joining us. Mahalo, and see you next time.